What is going on, guys? Welcome to another week of PWTB. I've got Jake back here. Jake, how we doing?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. By the way, Jake was a great host. I know we mentioned this in the last show when I was in Athens. Total great host. Jake, was I a great guest?
Oh yeah, man. We had tons of fun, man. It was great having you down here, and I look forward to it again.
He seems like he's lying. He's hiding something. No, I'm just messing. No, I
I'm
appreciate
not
it.
lying, I promise. I'm not lying.
No, no, yeah, it was tons of fun. We got to see a baseball game at the University of Georgia. Shout out University of Georgia. Shout out Jordan. They are in the regionals coming up this weekend, and I believe it's held in Athens, and I believe they're playing Georgia Tech. I think it was UNC Wilmington and another school. So that's a big weekend for them. We wish them the best. But yeah, that was really cool. They were playing Florida. And Georgia might have the number one pick in the MLB draft, and then Florida might have a top five pick in the MLB draft. So that was I've never been to college baseball, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was.
And then, but yeah, just great trip all around. I got my tan on a little bit because it was hot in Georgia, and yeah, we went from there. So that's the start of summer. Hope all of you guys had a great start to your summer because I guess Memorial Day is sort of the unofficial start to summer, and yeah, pretty much. So we have a topic. By the way, thank you to Jake's friend Derek. Thank you for being a great follower of the channel. I know you've said you've liked our videos, and I know you have a channel of your own. So if I do remember, I will link it below in the biography. But you suggested a topic because the schedule release happened a couple weeks ago, and we didn't get to do a video on it about like what are some of the best matchups. And we didn't personally create one, but we're just gonna go out. So based on a CBS list, this is Cody Benjamin. This is the top 10, his top 10 games of 2024, and we're gonna give our thoughts on this. So at number 10, week 14, this is a bit of a, I guess, a rematch or like a redemption game. You have Atlanta going to Minnesota. Now, obviously, that's the Kirk Cousins game. What do you think about that one, Jake?
Yeah, like you said, I would say that's the Cook Cousins game. Cook Cousins, I believe, is his first game back in Minnesota after getting signed by Atlanta in the offseason. Hopefully, Cook Cousins will be starting by that time. I hope he does. He will still be starting. Um, we'll see what happens with that though. But yeah, Minnesota, new quarterback JJ McCarthy. Obviously Justin Jefferson, Gordon Addison. Minnesota still got a very good team, so I'd like to see how they match up against Atlanta with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Minnesota obviously would, like you said, with Justin Jefferson, and they're building the defense a little more in the draft, especially. Minnesota is still going to be respectable. You're wondering if Kirk Cousins is going to be starting. I think he will, barring injury. I think they know he's the guy in least for this year. What I'm curious about is will JJ McCarthy be starting by week 14? Because it seems like the Vikings are pretty confident in Darnold. But I would like to see that be a Cousins versus McCarthy because McCarthy's the future. Cousins was there for 6 years, so he was sort of the past, that'd be a cool matchup. I think Cousins will be ready to go there. He'd be fired up for that one. Not because he hates the Vikings. It's just that's a big deal for him. But number
Yeah.
9 on week 12, this is a Monday Night Football game. They have the Ravens at Chargers, and I don't know why any. Oh, is it no because that's other Harbaugh. That no, oh that's Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. That's why. And that took me a second because that's John Harbaugh is of course still with the Ravens. He's been with the Ravens for the longest time. And then Jim Harbaugh, who's now with the Chargers, should be an exciting offensive matchup, I would think.
Should be an exciting matchup. I think that obviously the Chargers got better with this. And it's hard to say the Chargers got better when they had no wide receiver Cole for Herbert after getting rid of, Keenan Allen and um
I
who's
think
the other receiver
Mike
I'm thinking
Williams
of?
is not there anymore
Mike
either.
Williams.
Jets, yeah.
Mike Williams. But like I said in the draft, they did get like McConkey early on after all. Early on as a weapon for Justin Herbert, so that duo will be fun to watch this year.
No, that's a fantastic fit for Lad McConkey because I think Herbert's one of those quarterbacks where he puts up so much yards and touchdowns. He could make, even if McConkey's not great right away, he could make a good receiver look great. So that's a great landing spot for him. But because obviously there was the Harbaugh versus Harbaugh Super Bowl a while. I'm curious to see if that rivalry is still sort of intact. John Harbaugh won that one, but so week 16 we got one for your team, Jake, at number 8. He puts 49ers at Dolphins. Um, oh, Mike McDaniel. Yep. So Mike McDaniel, and that's just a tremendous matchup. I
Yeah, oh,
think
yeah.
At home, I always say the Dolphins choke in big games. I think at home they could get them. They could get them in South Florida. Maybe. What do you think, Jake?
I don't know, like you said, it's always a good matchup. You know, the 49ers with their outstanding defense, the Dolphins with their outstanding offense, and also, as you said, Mike McDaniel. I mean, he lost in San Francisco last year, but you know, a rematch in Week 16 be fun to see.
Yeah, and especially that game will have like maybe like number one seed implications of
Because
both.
believe it or not, the Dolphins got better.
Yeah, and the Dolphins were a really good team last year. My problem is the Dolphins,
Yeah.
they're turning into the AFC version of the Cowboys, where they're really good, and then the big game comes, and it's they're missing in action. Tua's missing in action. But the Dolphins are, I give them all the credit. I think that might have number one seed implications for both sides. But all right, so number 7 in week 8, you got the Eagles and Bengals. Why is this one? I think Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow were in the same draft class. I think it's just supposed to be a really good game. I think. Why Eagles
Yeah.
and yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Because maybe Joe Burrow and I'm not sure, but other than that, it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good matchup. You know, Jumbo with Jamal Chase, and then you got Jalen Hurts with AJ Brown on the other side. Be a good matchup. It'll be an offensive game probably.
Yeah, obviously the Bengals eliminated my Titans a couple seasons ago, so I'm still a little salty about that. But the Bengals are a fun team, and I like Joe Burrow, and I don't want to see him with these injuries pile up. I want to see him still be a good quarterback. So hopefully,
Feel like you might be a little salty about the Titans trading away AJ Brown.
oh well, I'm still so no, we're salty about that till the day that AJ Brown retires. But that goes without mentioning. But however, with the Bengals, we now have their former offensive coordinator as our coach, Callahan, and now we have Tyler Boyd. So we're becoming a little bit of the Bengals South. So that's a little bit of revenge there.
The
All right,
Tennessee Bengals.
the Tennessee Bengals, yes, the Southwest Bengals. No. All right, so at number 6, week 9, this is a Monday Night Football game, one of the Jets' 6 primetime games, by the way. You have the Texans and Jets. I think this is just because everyone is loving CJ Stroud. We did a video on this. CJ Stroud is great, but temper your expectations. He's not Mahomes. He's missed a lot of throws, and I stand by that. However, he's going to put up crazy offensive stats, and this is, you got Rodgers on the other side. Hopefully, we got Rodgers on the other side by week 9. That's a big expectation for for Rodgers to be playing by then. But what do you think about
Yeah,
that?
after he got hurt
Texans,
four
yeah.
snaps into the year last year.
Right, that's right. So his expectation should be 8 snaps this year, not week 9. No, I'm just I'm just messing. But what? Yeah, that should be a good one.
That's a big great one. All right, number 5 on the list.
Number 5 on the list. So another late season game, week 16. Um, wait. Okay, there must be an error in what the okay, so I already see an error in this guy's article because he had the 49ers at Dolphins in week 16, and now he's saying week 16 Lions at 49ers. So the 49ers obviously don't play twice in 2 weeks. If we get that figured out, one is probably week 17 and one's week 16, but we'll just say week 16 because that's what he has. Lions at 49ers. Now obviously this is a rematch of the NFC Championship, Goff versus Purdy and all that. The Lions choked so bad. Lions will be fired up to play this game. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, yeah. I think what he meant was, I think that game's on week 17. I think like you say, it's an NFC rematch. It's between Puggy and Goff, and I think Puggy comes out on top again.
Yeah, I think the Lions will be fired up. My problem is, I think the Lions are going to underperform just a little bit. They're a really good team, but I think they're most importantly they're really good coached. Dan Campbell's a great coach. Their offensive coordinators got it all humming. They've got great GM. They signed great players. The problem is, I think Goff might have hit his ceiling. And Goff is a great quarterback. Is he a Super Bowl winning quarterback? I don't believe so. He's got to prove me that wrong. I think the Lions might take a couple steps back, and I don't see the 49ers. But that should still be a good game. All right, number 4 is week 7. Chiefs at 49ers. I'm surprised it's only number 4. That goes without explanation. The 49ers are going to be pissed. Um, that's going to be an interesting one. I'm surprised it's not prime time, but
The 49ers lost that Super Bowl game because they did not know overtime rules.
mhm.
I think the 49ers will come out and be pissed. I think that, Brock Purdy's obviously a great quarterback. He's no Patrick Mahomes. I think the Chiefs come out on top again.
Which I never voiced as much at the time with Kyle Shanahan. Let's talk about that for a second. I mean, that's inexcusable. And Kyle Shanahan, first and foremost, he's a great coach. He's got one of the best offensive systems in the league. Nobody's doubting that. However, number one, you're talking about a guy who has a choker represent, or, like he's known as a choker, and so to speak, he lost a Super Bowl in overtime already. You'd think he'd be bothered to know the overtime Super Bowl rules and communicate them to the players, but so I guess not so much. But anyway, so number three is week 11. It is another primetime game. Texans at Cowboys. A little bit of Texas rivalry. This might be a little high for number three, but I'm sure it'll get ratings. CJ Stroud's good. Dak Prescott, I have my problems with him, but he puts up numbers. That should be an offensive battle. I think that's what they're anticipating.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an offensive battle. I think, yeah, it will be an offensive showout. I think, obviously, as I was talking about earlier in the show, CJ Stroud, he has Nico Collins. So I think those two connected for a bunch in the playoffs last year. I think they'll still do the same this year. Um,
Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. Now, who's the other guy?
yeah,
They have? Tank Dell. They have
yeah,
Dalton Schultz is a really good tight end. I like their attack. Yeah.
yeah. The whole offense. Houston's offense as a whole, it's just, there are going to be problems this year for some defenses.
All right, number two, week 11, we have the Chiefs and Bills. I think this is adequately rated. I think Buffalo has got to hate Kansas City at this point now. And even though they played legendary games, the Chiefs just keep getting the better of them. This one's in Buffalo. Bills won in the regular season last year in Kansas City, but not when it mattered. So Bills could win this one, but they're probably thinking like, whoop-de, yay, who cares? We beat them in the regular season. Let's do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the Bills. Like I said with the Chargers earlier in the show, the Bills had no wide receiver core because they got rid of Stephon Diggs. You
They have
know,
the guy
uh,
from FSU now, though, right? Keon Coleman.
but they did draft Keon Coleman, so he'll be there as someone for Josh Allen to throw to. I still think the Chiefs are the better team, though. So
I do too. If they can keep all their players out of jail, that's been another thing we've been hearing about recently. But anyways,
Xavier Worthy. Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, yes. Will he be another John Ross or can he actually catch? If he can catch, watch out because 4-2-1, that is very
Oh,
uh but
might
all
be
right, so
another
number
Devin
one,
Hester.
Devin, what about Devin Hester?
We might see Devin Hester 2.0 with Xavier Worthy, or maybe
Okay,
Tyreek.
okay. So like Devin Hester, maybe a little bit of Cordero Patterson, who's been really good, a little bit, yeah, and then maybe okay, I can see
A little
that.
bit of Tyreek Hill.
Maybe Justin Fields is going to return kicks. No, I heard that. That's a rumor I heard, but
Yeah, yeah,
all right, week one, the Jets and 49ers. This guy's number one, and his list I thought was pretty solid. That is a terrible way to end it. The 49ers will beat the Jets by multiple scores on opening weekend.
yes.
And I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, right? I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. Don't get me wrong. He needs time to settle in though. And the 49ers are obviously, yes, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year. You could argue on paper the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. They're not winning week one. That is not the number one game. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, the Jets do not deserve to be number one slot. If anything, I would think the number one game would be Thursday night, the opening weekend. I think it's the Chiefs Ravens.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good one. Ravens are going to be upset. Lamar played an awful game in that AFC Championship. I'm surprised that didn't even crack the top 10. So pretty solid list. I just really disagree with number one. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. So Paul Skeens, we did a video on him a couple weeks ago after he made his first start, but man, has he lit it up since. So His
Mm.
second start ever at the Cubs in Chicago, he strikes out the first seven people. He gets 11 total strikeouts. He's maxing out still at 100, even as like 100.
Over six no-hit innings, too.
Yep, six no hits innings. Solid start versus the Braves. Solid start versus the Tigers yesterday, I believe, right, Jake?
Yes, solid star. He got the win.
So
So,
these aren't Cubs, Tigers, Braves. These aren't like you're not playing the Chumps, you're not playing the White Sox, or the Marlins, I guess in that case. He's playing real teams, and the thing about Paul Skeens is not only is his stuff fast, because I mean you see 100 miles pretty regularly now. His stuff is electric. That's the big difference. It's swing and
yeah.
miss stuff. Like some people live on the fastball, especially MLB batters, but they can't touch this guy's fastball. His off speed is like in the mid 90s. Like he throws like that. He is like
A
that.
95-mile-an-hour splitter. Yep.
95-mile-an-hour splitter. Good luck. That is what I say to that. So yeah, now some people are being doomers. They're saying, well, he's gonna have to brace for Tommy John eventually or whatever. And they can doom all they want about that. But Paul Skeens, he's got it. But my question is, and my question to you, Jake, how the heck are the Pirates gonna keep him? So you have him on his rookie contract, right? How is this
Right.
guy not a New York Yankee in 5 years? How is this guy not a Los Angeles Dodger in 5 years? Because you know he's going to get top money. Do you think he sells out? He seems like a good guy. He says he wants to go to the military once he's done, but how is this guy not a New York Yankee in like 5 years? How are the Pirates even going to be able to keep him?
He's a great pitcher. I feel like he's one of the guys that, and obviously this is still his rookie season, so we have to see how he pans out the rest of the year and years in advance. But I think Pirates, it's obviously no secret that the Pirates are better than they are this year than they were last year.
That's true too.
And I feel like the Pirates just need to keep going around Paul Sneens until his rookie year. And then until his contract is up, sorry. And then they'll be able to keep him.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like maybe if he sees they're competitive, that he'll want to stay. The problem is Pittsburgh just doesn't have the money that the other teams do. But yeah, I love watching him pitch. He's a great pitcher, and I hope he stays healthy, and I hope he has a long career. One more topic before break. Angel Hernandez, I don't know if you guys saw this week, has announced he is retiring effectively immediately. He's his umpiring days were done a couple weeks ago. His last called game was actually at Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago, with the White Sox, and then he just stopped after that. We assume he was negotiating with the MLBPA. Maybe he was or the umpire association, the player association, maybe had back and forth. Maybe reached a settlement on if he can retire. None of that's been released, by the way. That's just pure speculation. Um, but you know what? We hear about these umpires, and we talk about like when they do something super like exaggerated with the strike calls and all that. And we're like, do people think we're coming to see the umpires, or do people think we're coming to see the players? Because most people. I know there's those doofuses who dress up as umpires. Maybe they're there to see the umpires. I don't know. But most people are there to see the players play. So what I gotta say is Angel Hernandez, I have nothing. I know everyone is piling on him right now, so I don't want to just join the crowd. But at the same time, he finally got what he wanted. He got his attention. Everyone's celebrating him leaving because he was such an awful umpire. Again, nothing bad about him as a person. I don't know him as a person. But when you call pitches like 2 feet out the zone and defend it as, well, it's just my strike zone. It's not just your strike zone. It's an awful call. And you've been defended for years with that. But you know what? You finally got your attention because people are celebrating you leaving. I hope it's the attention you want. I highly doubt it, but you know what? You got your attention. But anyways, Jake, what's Angel Hernandez's legacy in your eyes?
Yeah, Angel Hernandez's legacy is being a terrible umpire.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing against him as a person. I'm sure he's a very great guy outside of baseball. I wish him the happiest retirement that he can have, but you know, thank God for the game of baseball, though. Thank God that he's out of the game of baseball.
Yeah. He got playoffs too, I think, right? Like that's like that.
Yeah, some game, yeah.
because that's always been my consolation. It's like even with the White Sox, and we might talk about this call later in the show. Like with the White Sox awful call last week and the umpires, I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can't take it back. We're horrible anyways. It's not like that win was going to change our season anyways. We got robbed, don't get me wrong, but we're bad, so it is what it is. Just make sure they don't go to playoffs. But Angel Hernandez, I'm sure, got playoff games even with his horrible strike zone. So I don't get that at all.
Yeah, he did. He probably just wasn't behind he might not have been behind the plate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah. Maybe he was on like second base or something like that. I don't know how that rotation. Do you even know how that rotation works? Like, how do they decide that? I don't even know. Yeah.
So I think, so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong. Please, someone in the comments correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe this is how it works. I believe once you have the same crew, you rotate. So like the umpiring crew rotates, and once you get back to the same crew again, you rotate, like from home plate to first base, or from
Yeah.
first base to second, or second to third, or third to
I didn't know if
home.
there was a rotation or they just decide like what I thought for a while was they just decide, okay, this is going to be the crew chief and the home plate umpire, and then they kind of just fill in wherever. But I didn't know there was a
I mean, that might be how it works. That might be
No,
how it
I
works. It might
that's just a
become.
complete that's just a complete guess though. I don't actually know. But like I see what you're saying. The way they rotate, that would make sense. Yeah. All right, we got time for one more topic. And this is I don't think I have a ton to say on this because there's not a lot of developments, but before we go to break, but Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are fighting this it's coming up on AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas. July 20th is supposed to be the big match. I know Mike Tyson, and we wish him the best. Had that health scare a little bit ago, but my biggest takeaway, I don't have much to say on that. First of all, I think it's a little interesting. You're fighting a guy who hasn't boxed in like 19 years. I don't understand what Jake and Logan Paul. They're very talented fighters. Don't get me wrong. They didn't come here just because of luck, but fight like because and I've heard Jake Paul say this in the past. He wants to retire at 30. Then fight the champs and go out and knock out because I think you got the talent. But the thing with this is, so you're fighting the old man, but the thing is, the old man still looks in shape. Mike Tyson still looks like Prime Tyson. Like, not obviously he's probably not Prime Tyson, but you look at him running, he's doing sprints. You look at his chest, still big as ever. Jake Paul better be careful. That's what I'll say. I'm not gonna get into any predictions, but I don't know if you have any, Jake. If you have a prediction, I'm just gonna say Jake Paul better be careful.
I'm a still away from my projections, but Jake Paul better be careful and he's better be ready. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and what I will say to finish on that note is that because Mike Tyson, you talk about, well, he's old, he can't do rounds. Well, Mike Tyson doesn't need to do rounds. He can knock Jake Paul out in 3 or 4 rounds. He just needs the knockout punch, and we'll see if he gets it. But again, all credit to
Yeah.
Jake Paul. This is just going up against a juggernaut. But anyways, we will be back for the second half of the show. More to come when we get back. All right, guys, welcome back to PWTB. We are back and ready to talk about our new favorite sport. It really is awesome to watch, though, WNBA. Right, Jake?
Oh yeah. I mean, WMA is fun to watch ever since, girls like Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink, Angel Reese, I apologize, as got drafted into the league. But I really want to talk about, the Rookie of the Year conversation early on in the WMA season. Obviously, there's still, I think 34 games to go in the season. But early on, I think, obviously Caitlin Clark has gotten a lot of Rookie of the Year votes probably already. But I think, early on in the season, the rookie that impressed me most is Los Angeles Sparks rookie Cameron Brink. I think that, she's just a lesser three-point shooter. She gets the steals, she gets the blocks. And I think that, her teammates don't necessarily get her turnovers all the time. I know that's been a problem with Caitlin Clark. Maybe not all turnovers are Caitlin Clark's fault. Maybe some are her teammates, but you know, still counts as her turnover. So I don't know. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, those are two things I'm considering, and well, you named one of them. One of them is the turnover. She had 10 turnovers in her debut. She still had a consistent amount of turnovers. Now, you can be a great player and have turnovers, but how much does the WNBA weigh in on that when deciding rookie of the year. By the way, recently I just checked MGM, which is the sports book I like to look at. Caitlin Clark is minus 1,400 to be rookie of the year. So statistically, is she the best rookie so far? Not necessarily, but they seem to think she's going to get it together and keep going. And she did just have a fabulous game on Tuesday of this week. I believe she scored 30 points against Los Angeles. So there's that. How much do they factor in the turnovers? And then how much also do they consider like the team record? Because the Indiana Fever aren't that great. Well, I think they're like 1-5, right, Jake?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they're like they're low down. So some like the NFL sometimes they'll weigh in on that. Like say a player has a fabulous year and they're up for consideration for award, but if their team's so bad and it's close with the person whose team is, a little bit better, like if one team's 9-7 and another team's 5-11 and they're close, maybe the 5-11 guy is a little better. They might still give it to the guy who's on the 9-7 team because they won more games. So I don't know how much the WNBA will factor into that. The sports books
Yeah,
don't seem to think so though, and it seems like they think Caitlin Clark will pick it up. If she's dropping 30 in a game, not every game, but even just on occasion, I think she'll win it. That is a fabulous performance for a rookie. Cameron Brink, I thought was going to because she was starting to get hot, but then Tuesday she lays a 3-point game, so I don't know. But either way, Jake made a very good point though with all these rookies. Like, yeah, Caitlin Clark is phenomenal. I think she can shoot with the best of them. I think she's the best 3-point shooter. And this is not a joke or anything. Yes, obviously playing versus men is a little bit different, but she's the best 3-point shooter I see alive out today outside of Steph Curry. I mean, like she's phenomenal, but so are some of these other players. They're really fun to watch, and they're packing stadiums. Los Angeles. I mean, Jake pointed this out. The record where like nobody's in the what's the Los Angeles basketball arena? What's that called, Jake? Staples Center or
crypto.com.
Crypto.com, yeah, because they all have corporate sponsored names now. But Crypto.com stadium, in the 6 years LeBron has been in Los Angeles, has never drew as big a crowd as the WNBA game. That is amazing, and it seems like a lot of women are getting into watching the sport too, which is great as well. And then the New
Not
York
just
Liberty,
women,
not
and
just
not just
women, but
women.
not just women, but predominantly women are pretty fired up to watch. But I'm not saying not just women, yeah. But they're
Yeah,
bringing in a ginormous woman fan base that didn't necessarily care about sports before. That is true though. But
yeah, and they're bringing a guy fan base over to WNBA as well. So
yes, they're bringing us who care about sports, and because we see their game and they can really game. Like they can 3-point shoot, they can go up and get rebounds like the best of them. They're bringing in us for sure. I'm just saying they're bringing in kind of the a la Taylor Swift effect. A lot of women who just did not care about sports before. So both are true
yeah,
completely. But I would like, as I was saying, the Liberty are getting ginormous crowds in New York, and so they're doing it right. Yeah.
yeah. The Fever are moving their away games to bigger stadiums, bigger arenas. I know when the Fever come to Atlanta to play the Atlanta Dream, they're going to be playing in State Farm Arena instead of where the Dream
Are you still going
usually
to
play.
that? I know you were considering
I
going to that one.
am.
What date
I
is that?
do plan on still going to that.
What date is that?
I'm not too sure. I
Sometime
believe
in
it's
June?
some date in June. I
Gotcha.
believe it's next month. But
All right. Well, you will have to
and
tell
also
us.
I want to also I'm double checking now the Fever are 1-7. They're
Ooh.
playing against the Seattle Storm tonight.
So playoffs are starting
Um,
to look unlikely. Again, that could factor into an award. Some leagues might not care. Again, the odds makers seem to think that the WNBA doesn't care, but they might. They might, especially if it gets close.
so
Um,
all three top rookies are in action tonight. Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink, and Angel Reese.
is it
Um,
three rookies based on what? Like just on their performance so far? You'd say like
top three rookies taken in the WNBA draft.
Angel Reese is another exciting one. She's in Chicago, the Sky.
Yes,
And
correct.
she's a trash talker, but she's a pretty good player too. She can back it up. She's an exciting one to watch, probably a cornerstone of that franchise a little bit too. Yeah. But who is the Fever before we get off topic? Who is the Fever's one win then? Who did they beat?
Fever, I believe they beat the Los Angeles Sparks.
Isn't that the Los Angeles? I keep thinking Las Vegas because Las Vegas is the really good one. But
Yes.
it's an impressive win versus Cameron Brink and company. But yeah, exciting stuff for sure. All right, so let's talk a little bit about that White Sox play we were referring to earlier in the show. We were going to talk about this last week, but we had to move the show, and it's still recent enough. So let's dive into it. So as the White Sox fan, I will start this one. My so with the play, there's so much wrong. Jake pointed this out, and I'm sure when I give him the chance to respond, he will point out that they called the infield fly. That should be that. That the runners go back, the batter is out, it's 2 outs, 2 on, you move on. And that's how baseball works, right? Yeah, but you don't even have to go to that. So say for some reason that Vaughn was interfering, and the MLB umpires and the crew chiefs and all that, and they came together to make a statement that there doesn't have to be intent, right? Well, there doesn't have to be intent. I agree with that. But the problem was Andrew Vaughn was not running. He was walking back to second base. He was like 5 feet from second base. And Gunnar Henderson, Baltimore shortstop, could take 2 steps over to go catch the fly ball, but he ran into Vaughn. That's the biggest misconception that I don't hear actually people even talking, even on who agree that the call was stupid. They're not talking about enough. That Henderson ran and he ran into Vaughn. Vaughn didn't run into him. And then, Henderson smiling at the end. They get an easy win. And yeah, the Orioles are the better team. Don't get me wrong. They went on to sweep us 4 games. We've got our own problems. But I mean, come on. The umps interjected themselves in to make that call. It's one thing if it's a ball or strike call and it's like it's controversial, but that happens sometimes. You sit there for 3 hours, you're not gonna make this call. No, they interjected themselves in this game to make this call. And it's ridiculous. And again, at a minimum, I'm not asking for anything crazy. I'm just asking make sure these umpires do not umpire in the playoffs. They don't deserve that privilege. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for a pay deduction. I'm not asking for other stuff. Just make sure they don't ump in the playoffs. But it was bad. And I would love, if any of you think that was a good call, I would love for you to come on and debate me about that. But, anyways, Jake, what was the most egregious part, I guess, about that call to you?
Yeah, it was a terrible call. I think obviously it was a terrible call. I agree with you there. I understand the reasoning they have behind maybe making that call. Like I said to you, Evan, you know, it's still an interference call, even though Vaughn ran into Henderson. Still interference, no matter how you put it. But I think that, it was an infield fly rule. I think that Vaughn was walking back a second. I think Henderson did run into Vaughn. I think you could have let go there because it wasn't, as we talk about in football or hockey, it wasn't egregious interference, from Vaughn.
Wait just a second though. So you're saying like even if Vaughn is walking back and Henderson runs into him, that does not matter. That's still interference. I just want to make sure I got that right. Or
I mean, it's still interference, but as as I pointed out to you earlier when I was talking to you about this call, I think the night after it happened or something like that. It's still an infield call rule. It's still an infield fly, so the call should have been dead. But I'm saying if it wasn't an infield fly, that still would have been ruled interference.
interference on who though? Gunnar Henderson? That's what it seems like to me almost. Like might as well just like if you're a baseball player, what I would see from that is like, okay, I'll just if I'm on first base and I'm the runner, I'll just run right into first base and I guess it's their interference. Like, how do you take that? How do you enforce that anyway? And I don't see how you do. But I get where
So
you're
it's always the batter's interference.
the batter, but
It's
neither
always the batter interference.
the batter or the runner, because neither of them were batters.
It's
And
always the runner. I'm sorry.
it's always the runner. So that to me, okay, that means, and I believe you. I believe, but you probably know more about the rule book than me. But to me, what that says is like if I'm an infielder, then so take aside the example I met with the runner. If it's always the runner, then if I'm an infielder, okay, well if it's close, I'll just run into him and get an interference call. I mean that's NBA esque almost. But I totally get what you're saying. But like, how do you interpret that rule then?
I
Um,
also feel like I also feel like as an umpire you have to make a split second decision. Like was it on purpose that the infielder runs into the runner? Or is it like Or is
Right.
it
And
not?
I am the
You know?
most understand and I will say this, I am the most understanding person to umpires. You have to sit, especially if you're the home plate umpire, you have to sit back there for 3 hours and call balls and strikes. And some strikes are like 2 inches off the plate and all. That's so close. And if you miss a call and you get 90% of the calls right in a game, I think, which is obviously sort of low, but I'm understanding that. But the problem is, Jake, they did not have to make this call. They chose to make this call. That's not a heat of the moment call. They chose to. He's walking back. It's not like there was a huge collision. They chose to interject themselves in their game, and they
Yeah,
did.
no, like I said earlier, it's an infield fly. Ball should have been
Yes.
the ball should have been ruled dead because hanging because on an infield fly, so when the umpire calls an infield fly, the infielder does not have to catch the baseball. And they do that because the infielder on an infield fly, the infielder could intentionally drop the baseball and get a double play.
Right, and I was actually hearing this, like my grandpa was telling me about, like my cousin's league where they did this, and but yeah, to anyone who doesn't follow baseball and is listening to this debate, that's it. So yeah, Jake explained it exactly right. So if there's guys on first and second, you could intentionally drop it. So oops, we'll throw it to third quick, we'll throw it to second, we'll get a double play instead of one out, you know.
But
But
that's why they have the infield fly now.
exactly. So okay, so it seems like we agree that it was a egregious call. I just go a little bit further because I think it's yeah, the infield fly was called. They shouldn't have called it. I think it's even worse than that though, because again, yeah, sure, the runner is the only one who can interfere, but be careful about that MLB because then players can I can just run into the player. So it is what it is. But anyways, the White Sox we ended up losing more. We haven't won a game since then, so it's not like we're missing out on much. But do better, and
Yeah,
I hope I really do hope they don't make the playoffs because of this.
yeah.
Uh,
All right, so we're gonna take a short little break again, and then we'll be back to wrap up the show. So we'll see you guys. Welcome back to PWTB. We're back to wrap up the show. But we do have two more topics right now. So
yeah, so
that's all we have.
the NBA playoffs, like this year, because when I used to get into the NW or not to the WNBA, to the NBA a little bit back when I was in middle school, and I thought it was a little bit exciting. MLB and NFL have always been my favorite leagues, as you guys probably understand through the channel. That's the videos we do the most on. But, I was excited. I liked watching LeBron. I liked watching the Spurs when they were good. I liked watching the Thunder when it was Kevin Durant when he was there. Some exciting teams. And then I sort of lost interest because it gets so like celebrity orientated. Like there's like so much celebrity, not enough game. And I worried the NFL is turning in that a little bit too much. And then some other stuff we don't have to get into. But generally it's been pretty exciting. But when the Bucks won it a couple of years ago in 2021, I watched maybe like I don't know a game. But I'm starting to watch a little more WNBA again, and I think this year maybe this is part of it.
NBA, not WNBA.
I keep saying WNBA. Okay, well WNBA might be the big draw now as we talked about with fans. But anyways, you know I think like one of the reasons that might bring in people more like me is when you see a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves making it, and I know they're on the brink of elimination. We're recording this as a Thursday. They're on the brink of elimination tonight. We'll see how that goes. But you see a team like that. You see the Mavericks, who are a 5 seed, on the verge of making the finals. You see teams like Denver, who before never had a shot. Now you have Jokic, leading them to a championship last year. Um, it's becoming more of a league of small market teams again, and that's what's interesting. And it's just not the super teams, and they just loot everyone. Like when you have a 5 seed maybe going who's been an underdog in every matchup since they faced the 4 seed, the Clippers. The Mavericks did. They faced the Clippers. They won in six. They faced the Thunder. They won in six. They're an underdog versus the Timberwolves. They're trying to win in five tonight. We'll see, and then they'll face the Celtics, which obviously with the best team record in NBA, they're the underdog there. So it's the return of the small market. It's the return in the Timberwolves case, drafting right. You have Carl Anthony Towns who might lead this offseason. We'll see, but you draft him number 1 overall in 2015. You draft Anthony Edwards, who's been who I think is a little hit or miss, but he's 22. He's just coming into being a superstar. He's a top 10. I think he was first overall in 2020. You know, so you can build a team up. Another problem I always have with the NBA, which is another one with the MLB, is tanking. Like some teams tank for too long, but it's becoming a league where it's just not four at the top, and that is great to see. And I don't know if my diehard NBA days are coming. However, it's becoming a little more entertaining to watch to people like me, at least. But anyways, Jake, who do you see winning it all this year? I guess Celtics seem like
Yeah,
the
obviously the
what do you think? Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, obviously the Boston Celtics are the favorite to win it all. Even no matter who comes out of the Western Conference, and it's just you know. But I think Dallas is gonna wrap up tonight against Minnesota. And Boston will get the Boston Dallas rematch, and I think Boston will come out on top.
Yeah, I think Minnesota, they're a really good team. I could even see them taking it at 7, but I think history is going to stay strong here. No team's ever come back from 3-0, I believe, in the NBA. So the Timberwolves might make it interesting, but I think you've got Kyrie Irving and what's his name on the Mavericks? The
Luka
Luca, yeah, Luca Don. I don't know how to say that last name. Luca
Doncic.
Doncic. Yes. Both of them have been just scoring crazy in this series. I don't think they're going to slow down, and I don't think they're going to lose 3 straight. So I think it is going to be Mavericks versus Celtics. The Celtics, they have the best record. Jason Tatum is a borderline top 10 player, MVP candidate. And I think they're the more sound team. However, don't sleep on the Mavericks. They're hot, and sometimes that matters. I think it might be a tight series. Maybe the Celtics will win, but should be entertaining at the least.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But anyways, just to wrap up the show, we wanted to discuss this happened like a month ago, but they've been making, I mean, it's grown men making diss tracks on each other, so take it with a grain of salt. But Drake and Kendrick Lamar did throw down hands, metaphorically, musically, whatever you want to call it. And it's a little interesting to talk about. I think with Drake, especially, it's interesting. And by the way, they've made plenty of songs, so go look at the recent songs. We're not going to talk about it all. But Kendrick released a song, like a 6.5 minute song on Drake, who went right in. He went at him as a father. He went at him as everything. He told him pretty much he doesn't want him identifying as an African American male man. He's told him a lot of stuff, and then Drake did one too. Drop and give him 50 or like 50 push-ups. Like you're below me, and I think that was the message Drake wanted to get across. I think he wanted to get across that I'm not gonna punch down to Kendrick Lamar. I'm better than Kendrick Lamar. I'm not gonna do that. Drake's base is locked solid. It's not going anywhere. But the general consensus is that Drake lost this confrontation, and Drake's lost some other, I guess, so to speak, confrontations with rappers. And that's the thing, because we talk about sports a lot here, but it's the same thing with rappers almost too, where it's like you want to be looked at. A lot of these guys and a lot of these famous people, they like to ask, what is their legacy? What will be my legacy when I'm gone? What will be my legacy when I'm retired? Well, Drake, if he keeps taking these losses, he's going to be remembered as a great rapper. He's popular right now, but what about in the future? The future generation, they'll look at him. Okay, Grandpa's listening to Drake. That's nice. That's gonna be weird to think about later on. So Grandpa's
Yeah.
listening to Drake. That's nice. But what is his actual legacy? Well, he got clowned on by Kendrick Lamar. Okay, that's it. Is he the GOAT? Nope. And that's what they're going to say from now. So Drake, again, it's funny to see these grown men. All aside, I view it as entertainment. They view it as their livelihood, though. I do believe Kendrick Lamar came out on top. I think Drake wanted to act like he was above him. But if you're above him, why did you make the diss track in the first place? And again, if he wants, because they do all care about their legacy. Drake, you can't take public losses like this if you want to look back on your legacy. But anyways, Jake, what I want to ask you is, what do you think about all these types of beefs? Do you think they're silly, or what do you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been following along too much. I think that when it started, it was dumb. I think that they're both great rappers. I think that I don't, because I didn't understand the whole reasoning behind this. So when they started, I didn't follow it that much. But I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying,
I think it had to
you
do,
know,
I forget which one. I haven't followed this that very closely either. I believe it was Drake, but I'm not sure. One of them said the top three rappers are this, this, this. And I think Kendrick Lamar was the one who said, F the big three, it's just the big me. Like he's the big rapper, which I don't really understand. I mean, I know maybe some people are Kendrick Lamar fans. I've never, his music's weird to me. He doesn't have a great singing style. I think Drake has a great singing style. I think he's a great singer. I think he's made some songs I don't care for, but like generally, I think he's a really good rapper. I think he's motivational. And I think he hits all the. I think Drake's the better rapper, hands down, than Kendrick Lamar. But again, when you get in these scruffs, that's what the people who actually pay attention to rap to, they remember. And Drake's losing. So, but yeah, I agree, it's a little silly. But
yeah.
all right, well
All
that is.
right.
Or you got one more thing, Jake?
I say, all right. Well, that's it for us this week. We will see you guys next week. From Evan and Jake.
Yep, signing out.
You guys
We will see you next time. Have a good weekend and hope you guys have a good start to summer.